Peebles to get on. In the meantime, I want to thank Selman Yelson for putting this event together. Hopefully, we're looking to do this maybe once a week, maybe once every other week. Again, it all depends on how we're going to structure it. But again, I'm looking forward to seeing everybody and talking to everybody. You know, the best part of doing these events is just meeting people like Don Peebles and, you know, talking to Selman on a regular basis. And hopefully, like I said, we're looking to do this more on a, like I said, maybe weekly or monthly basis. Again, it all depends. Anyway, while we wait for Don, I wanted to read off, I want to thank some sponsors for today's event who are part of the REDinNYC family. Sorry, I'm off screen. So I want to thank the gold sponsor, Carlo Seneca from CNA Seneca Construction. Gold sponsor, Vince Soriento. Hopefully I pronounced your last name right. Sorry if I didn't. From Property Shark. Silver sponsor, Laura Rivera from Champion Elevator. Silver sponsor, Benny Redsa from Skyline Scaffolding. Other sponsors, Amit Prasad from View, Yaha Mustag from Eco Safety, Michael Zisman from City Bay Capital, Tariq Zuri from Hydrotech Environmental, Shoka Mamedov from Remax 100, and John De La Fuente from Real Estate Prince. I want to thank you guys for sponsoring this REDinNYC event and for all you guys do. I really appreciate it. Anyway, guys, like I said, we're just waiting for Don Peebles to get on. Hopefully he got the invitation, and you know, just waiting for him to talk to us. So let me tell you a little bit about Don while we wait. So Don is recognized as one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the nation. Don Peebles is a founder, chairman, and CEO of the Peoples Corporation, one of the country's few privately held national real estate investment and development companies. Mr. Peebles engages in practices of affirmative development, which we'll talk, you know, ask him about that, with a multi-billion-dollar portfolio of projects in New York, Boston, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Charlotte, Miami, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. So this guy has some portfolio. I think he's been in the real estate game for 25 to 30 years. I could be off on a few years. But he also got two books. I read one of them. One of them is called The People's Principles and The People's Path to Real Estate Wealth. So, wait a minute. I think he might be on. Give me a second. Let's see. Hold on. Let's see. Yep. Donahue Peebles. Don, how are you? Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hi, Don. Can you hear me?
I sure can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, barely, but I can hear you a little bit.
Let's do better. How about, give me a moment here.
Yeah, no problem.
How's that? Is that better? How's the volume?
Definitely much better.
All right.
Well, Don, thank you so much for giving us a few minutes of your time to talk to us at REDinNYC.
My pleasure.
So, Don, I just read your bio to the people right before you got on, and I definitely want to touch on a few things, especially the affirmative development projects that you're working on. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into the real estate field? Were you always entrepreneurial as a youngster?
Well, I got into real estate because I got exposed to it very early on in my career, actually in my teenage years, by my mother. My mother was a real estate broker, a real estate appraiser, and a executive at Fannie Mae. And so throughout high school, I got exposed to real estate. And in fact, growing up, I was exposed to real estate based on her career. And so that was my early exposure to real estate through her. And my interest was going to be more into science and medicine, but ultimately I chose real estate after a short stint at college.
Well, you definitely made the right choice, right?
I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, listen, I think what you've done for people, like I said, I even talked about your books, and I read one of your books, The People's Path to Real Estate Wealth. I read that, I think, in 2010, 11. I got a lot out of it. So, and I was telling the people on YouTube that definitely those two books, The People's Path to Wealth and The People's Principles, are definitely worth reading.
Yeah, I mean, look, I wrote the book, I wrote both of my books, especially The People's Principles, to unlock kind of the mystery of entrepreneurship. I mean, I believe there's an entrepreneur in most people, and they just have to explore that entrepreneurship and also look at it as uncomplicated. I mean, Bill Gates once said that science is complicated, but business is not, and he's absolutely correct. Business is a very straightforward, pretty much uncomplicated industry and or structure. And so if you get comfortable that, with a simplicity of approach to entrepreneurship, I think it unlocks all kinds of creative aspects of one's career and their goals.
But the thing is, what I see though, Don, and I don't know, I'm pretty sure you have, when I go to a lot of these networking events and I meet people, it seems like the people there are making it harder than it is, because they look into that guru, and the first thing they always tell these, the newbies is to get into wholesaling. As an experienced real estate investor, is that a way to go, especially, if you're starting out as looking for your first deal?
Well, I mean, I think that, again, I started off with a large development project. My first project I started when I was 26. It was a commercial office building in Washington, D.C. I was able to identify a tenant to pre-lease all of the office space, which made the project a lot more financially viable. And that was a 100,000 square foot office building. And then I joint ventured with three experienced developers, and we split the project 50-50. And we developed that project. I started at 26, delivered it when I was 29. And still own that building today, actually. The tenant released it for another 10 years and then now another 16 years. And my son is leading the renovation and redevelopment of that project. So, I mean, I think it's okay to think big. I think the key that entrepreneurs and people in real estate ought to understand is good deals will always find capital. There's more capital pursuing real estate transactions than there is actually good deals to deploy that capital in, and especially deals that are going to produce decent sized returns in a very strong environment, which is what we just ended. And of course, coming out of COVID, I think it's going to be also more challenging. So there's more capital than there are good deals. And then there's much more capital than there are sponsors or entrepreneurs who actually spend the time to become a good craftsman in their industry.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, because a lot of the new investors and newbies, they're afraid of, like you said, just thinking big. But what I was told, and maybe you could talk more about this, is that lenders or bankers, they'll look at the project itself more than they look at the person's credit history. Now, how does funding come into play? Now, if someone doesn't have the funding, now should they look for partnerships? Like you did, where you split everything 50-50. So a newbie can get that type of deal, because the first thing they're going to think of, like, oh, I don't have the connection, whatever. But I think, as they say, private lending and friends and family they could talk to, right? I mean, is that something that would you recommend, or you have another way to go?
No, I think it's important to identify a compelling investment opportunity and then to somehow tie it up. I think the big risk to the entrepreneur, especially someone early in their career, is to take the risk to believe in their vision and in their dream, and to tie up the property. Once they tie up a property and have site control of the deal, then they can go out and find the capital and then create a more competitive environment. Otherwise, if they don't have the property tied up, then they're really not offering anything other than themselves as either a facilitator or an implementer, but not someone who controls the deal. So in essence, people can go around them and go pursue the deal themselves, which often happens in our industry. And so it's key to tie the project up. And lenders do look at the prior credit history to a degree of their borrowers or the sponsors. I mean, if they have not performed on prior developments and they have treated their lenders and their creditors inappropriately in times of difficulty, then I think it makes them a bit more difficult. But your point is very illuminating when it comes to, again, the point I made about good deals will find capital, because in New York City, it's a city of 9 lives, essentially, for the real estate development community. So you can give your assets back to a lender in one cycle and go and do business with the same lenders in another cycle. Because, again, there's all this capital pursuing deals. And capital needs to find a place. Sitting on the sidelines is problematic. So, but I think it's important to have site control. And I can't emphasize that enough. You've got to control the deal. And if you can control the deal, then if it's a good deal, then the market is going to provide the capital for it. And then the key at that point is to spend the energy on finding the right capital that will enable you enough time to execute your investment plan and reap the economic benefits and find the best, capital in terms of maintaining as high a level of ownership as possible.
Right. Okay. No, that's perfect. I love that, because I think in this day and age, especially because I wanted to touch base on what's happening in the world with the pandemic and how it's affecting your business. And, I'm making these LinkedIn connections lately. And the first thing, Don, I get, especially if it's a lender, we're still lending. Others are not, but we're still lending. So like you said, there's still capital, even in a market like now. And even, I don't know, how was it for you in 2008 when the market crashed, but it seems like I'm finding more and more people looking to lend money.
Yeah, I think look, capital is pursuing, opportunity right now in the marketplace, and lenders are looking, but I think right now we're in a time of a lot of caution. Because lenders are focusing on the portfolios that they have on hand now and what they are looking down the barrel of in terms of problems. I think it would be exceptionally challenging to find financing for hotel projects at prior valuations. Now, at distressed pricing, then I think, again, there will be capital for those. So, again, good deals will find capital. But I think it's going to be much more challenging to find capital in undistressed situations now for industries that are in trouble, or sectors in trouble: retail, hospitality, commercial office.
Right. Now, with what's happening now in the world, how is the pandemic affecting your business, or is it affecting at all? I mean, it's affecting pretty much all of us, but business-wise, how is it affecting you?
Well, I mean, look, we're a national development firm, and we have a $5 billion pipeline of development projects in the horizon. Several of them have hospitality projects. Right. 2 of them were very close to the commencement of construction. And so those projects obviously have been affected, in part because, early in this pandemic, we saw that this was going to be something that would have a lasting impact. Right. And so we had to reevaluate those 2 development projects. And so in that regard, that has affected us. However, the other projects that we're in the planning stages of, it's allowed us to begin to reflect upon what we're going to build, what the mixture of uses are going to be in those projects. And it's also challenged us to look at our company, top down, in terms of being more efficient, how we're going to operate our business. As I said, we're a national development company with projects in 6 different cities. And so how are we going to manage those projects going forward? Are we going to have our teams working remotely in satellites in those different locations and different elements like that? But how we work as a company, and then what other opportunities are there out there? We happen to be in a pretty good position that we have sold most of our assets, including one of our top performing hotels in Washington, D.C., because the market was exceptionally high in value back in 2018 and 19. And so we're now in a position where we can look more opportunistically, and we are challenging ourselves internally about to figure out what those opportunities are. We're out raising a fund right now, and are still doing that. So there's been some negative impact, but also there's a time of positive impact because it's giving us a good opportunity to look at how our business operates over the next 30 years. We've been in business 36 years. We intend to be in business, another 30 years plus. So what will the company look like going forward? So, it's given us, an opportunity, especially for some of the younger team members, to see what it's like to have a global crisis and how we navigate through it. So, but overall, minimal impact on our business.
Okay. If you could get into more of what affirmative development is, can you talk more about that and elaborate a little bit more?
Absolutely. America's greatest strength is its diversity. New York City's greatest asset is its diversity. New York City, for example, 53% female. It's 6-7% minority when you look at all the different communities that are represented in New York. The nation is nearly a majority minority community. It's a majority female community. But if you look at commercial real estate around the country, it does not come close to reflecting the demographics of the communities, and it doesn't come close to representing the demographics of our nation. New York City is another good example. If you look at that level of diversity, how few women there are at the higher levels of development, how few minorities they are. And so you have to challenge yourself to say, well, why is that? Well, of course, it's been historic, systemic discrimination, and that has impacted the ability for minority and women entrepreneurs to gain a foothold, gain an opportunity, get started in their careers, or build their careers. And as a result, the people who are in our industry are pretty entrenched. And so it's a perpetuating effect. And so unfortunately, we are in an industry that has been one of the slowest to change. And so what affirmative development means to me is to be a part of that change. My role as an entrepreneur is far beyond making money. I haven't worked to earn a living since I was 28 years old. I've made enough money to where I could have stopped at any time from 28. And this past March 2nd, I turned 60. So I'm working for a greater purpose. And I think, and most entrepreneurs, I hope are doing that. And I believe that in order to be successful, we have to work for a bigger purpose. And so my purpose is, in part, is to change the way our industry provides opportunities. So every development project that we work on, our goal is to make it reflective of the demographics of the communities that we're building our projects in, and to continue to raise the bar in that area. So historically, we've done over 25% of our contracts with minority and women-owned businesses for the first 35 years of our history. Now our goal for all of our projects is 35%. In New York City, our project that we're finishing up there now has done almost 30% of its contracts with minority and women-owned businesses, which is transformative. And so affirmative development to me means that we as an entrepreneur, we as a real estate business are a part of transformation of our society, and to provide equal access to economic opportunity, not in a passive way, but an aggressive, affirmative way. I believe that results in a much better project, because it identifies talent that is more often than not on the sidelines, but have great ideas, tremendous work ethic, and allows us to, build our projects also without as much headwinds.
No, listen. I think what you're doing and what you just said, it's amazing, because you're trying to include people of different backgrounds. And one thing I wanted to touch more base on that, because when I go to a lot of these networking events, I could probably count on one hand, maybe two, of people of color in the real estate networking events that I go to. Is it that they feel that they can't get in? Is it a fear factor? Or is it something that maybe it's more educational wise, that they could learn how to be a real estate investor? Because it seems, like I said, when I go to these events, I look around and I might see myself and a couple of other people, and pretty much that's it.
Well, unfortunately, it starts, frankly, with the CEOs who are running these development businesses. I challenge you to look at every major developer in New York City, since that's what we're talking about.
Right.
Look at what the executive level team looked like. It does not include minorities, and it does not often include women. But in terms of people of color, it rarely includes African Americans, for example. Rarely includes Latino Americans. I mean, you just start with the top list of landlords and work your way down. And you'd have to start at their executive staff and work your way down to maybe property management and on-site personnel to find any real diversity. And it's as though people don't understand what city they're operating in, where they are. I mean, New York City is a very diverse city, a diverse community. And so I know that people of color feel that they don't have an opportunity, and that the industry does not look at them as peers. And if anything, it looks more at political transactions. And that's unfortunate. And by the way, that's why the real estate industry today in New York City is facing these numerous assaults on our business. If you look at the legislation that has passed the New York State Legislature, the regressive legislation, it's been pretty significant. And it's not by accident. Look who's running the state government. The Speaker of the New York State Assembly is an African-American man. And the majority leader of the New York State Senate is an African-American woman. And the Democratic caucuses of both of those bodies is dominated by people of color. And they all know that this system and this industry does not work for them. And therefore, they don't find any real value in the industry. And so that's why these legislative actions have taken place. Had the industry been more inclusive, had it provided economic opportunities for New Yorkers as a whole, I think the politicians would have looked at it differently. But I think that the hard reality is that if you're a person of color and you want to get into commercial real estate in New York City, I mean, it is an extremely difficult task.
Yeah, no, it's amazing because, like you said, the city is so diverse. Everywhere you go, you see just all ethnicities. But hopefully, people like yourself and, and your business is starting to change that. And hopefully people could see that, hey, you know what? We could get in. Let's try it. Let's form our own company. Let's start small. Let's start with a residential and then just work our way up. I mean, I think if more people of color can see that, hey, let's start small and work our way up.
Yeah, I agree. I think also, the industry is just as oppressive when it comes to women. Yeah. I mean, we've made some progress, certainly in the brokerage space. There's been some progress. But in terms of the development, asset ownership, there's been very limited progress for women, which is absurd.
Yeah. So I wanted to touch base on what you said before about the projects that you have in Washington, D.C., Miami, Boston, San Francisco. Before, obviously, what's happening now in the world, when you picked the market, did you yourself or your team go there, or did you have boots on the ground first? Because that's another thing. So some people say if you can't invest in your own backyard, look somewhere else. That might be more affordable. So how does the People's Corporation work that, in the different markets you guys are in?
I mean, we're focused on deals, number one, but right. We look at we're looking at markets of the future, and not necessarily the present day. I mean, the present day generally has been picked over in terms of values and is extremely competitive and yields are down. So we're looking to drive numbers up. Our goal is always to produce outsized returns for ourselves and our investors. And we're looking for those cities of the future. We also look at geographic areas that we can manage and develop multiple projects. And so our company is essentially, we divide it up into regions. But every market that we do business in, we have some boots on the ground there. But I think all entrepreneurs in real estate ought to be looking at a broad market. One, of course, you want to take care of your home court, but when it becomes, too competitive and yields become too small, that is an indicator that you need to look elsewhere, a different sector or a different market. And our company is focused specifically on public-private projects. So that's another reason why we have gone into these other markets around the country, and we've entered those markets through public-private projects.
Okay. No, you know what? Because that's always an issue with some people. But just like you hit on the head, have boots on the ground, and that makes it to me much easier. At least you don't have to worry about, hey, I need to go there. Or if you can't go there, you have, like you said, just teams in each of those markets that you're looking to invest in. What, like for your company, what are you looking to do in the future? I mean, you got the projects going on. Anything else that you're looking to do in the next couple of years besides the projects you're working on? Projects in New York. We need you here in New York too, just as much.
Well, I think that New York's, the most dynamic real estate market in the world, and it's the most financially important city in the world. And America's largest city, so it's always going to do well. But I think New York City is a city of the present day, and I see other cities and other markets as places of the future, especially given this pandemic and how I believe it's going to change how people live and work and interact. But in terms of where I want to go, I mean, I almost ran for mayor of New York City, and the reason I was going to do that is because I believe that the capitalistic system in New York City is inherently unfair. The economic system in New York is economically unfair when it comes to women and minorities. And so I want to be a part of that change. So for the rest of my career, a big part of what I'm going to do is use entrepreneurship as a tool of transformation to knock down barriers that women confront every day, knock down those obstacles that people of color and other minorities confront through a discriminatory system. And so one of the reasons, and the primary reason that I'm raising our emerging developer fund, is to provide capital, equity capital, to talented entrepreneurs early or at the beginning of their development or investment career, so that I can be a part and our company can be a part of changing what our industry looks like, to do my part and do our company's part to make our industry more reflective of our society. And I believe that I will also prove that it is an exceptionally profitable business model, which will encourage other entrepreneurs, other funds, other investors to go into that space, because if one thing capitalism is, it's extremely efficient. And so it will follow returns.
With the fund that you might be providing for future entrepreneurs and real estate developers and just newbies in general, would there be any education provided to maybe teach, these budding entrepreneurs, like the investing, activity of real estate?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, again, is that we invest as a company in education because I believe that education is a vehicle to transform. But part of what our fund's going to do is it's more of a venture capital model where we will joint venture and co-develop with many of our sponsors, because we're going to be taking people with real estate experience that may be in their first development project or their first purchase of an asset. And we'll provide them the relationships, the infrastructure, the knowledge base, and the organizational structure that our company has. And so they can get the benefit of that. And basically, it'll be as much of a mentorship process as it is an investment process. And we're going to be investing in them growing their business and us providing capital to them for their future deals as well. And then our company gets a tremendous amount of deal flow. And we are, myopically focused on large-scale development projects. So many times, most often, we pass on the deals that we see. And we see that as an opportunity to bring deal flow to our sponsors that we invest in through our emerging developer fund, not only to bring them capital for their deals that they bring, but also those that perform well for us will bring them deals and capital. I mean, so to kind of having a cross-pollination of, development investment.
Right. Well, listen, Don, I appreciate you taking so much, time to talk to, Reddit NYC, the people, us. Um, and also, we missed you at the Reddit NYC event with Property Shark for the real estate awards. Obviously, we know why. So hopefully, when this clears up and God willing, we could have these award shows. We look forward to meeting you.
I look forward to being there as well. And I admire what you all have done in terms of getting entrepreneurs together, having them network, having young emerging entrepreneurs network and providing them access to information as well as access to other entrepreneurs who have a bit more history and experience in the industry. It's a very good thing that you all are doing, very consistent with what we've done as a company and what we're trying to do going forward. So it's a great pleasure to be able to do this with you.
No, definitely. I mean, listen, it's much appreciated. So, Don, if somebody wanted to get in contact with your company or yourself, where should they go?
They can reach me at Don Peebles at peeblescorp.com. And Peebles is spelled Peebles.
All right, sounds good. Well, again, Don, thank you so much for talking to us. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we could see you hopefully in a few months or whenever, everything clears up. Again, it was our pleasure at Reddit NYC to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, everybody, that was Donahue Peebles from the Peoples Corporation. He gave us a bunch of golden nuggets. I don't know what to say, but I want to thank Selman Yassin for putting this event together. I want to thank, again, Reddit NYC for all you guys that were able to listen and watch. This will be a repeat. Once it's edited, we'll put it back on, hopefully by this weekend or early next weekend so you guys can see it. And again, thanks a lot. Thanks to Selman. Sorry, I'm a little nervous because this is my first live event. But thanks to Selman. Thanks to Reddit NYC. Thanks to the sponsors that we talked to or that I mentioned earlier. And until next time, have a great day, everybody, and stay safe. Take care.
You can find Don at peoplescorp.com. That's peoplescorp.com. You can find Selman and Reddit NYC at redditnyc.com. And you can find me at peer-to-peerrealestate.com. That's peer, the number 2, peerrealestate.com. Anyway, on behalf of Selman, thank you, Selman, so much. And peer-to-peer real estate, I'm Willie Morales. Until next time, thanks, everybody. Have a great day and stay safe. Bye.